Hey YouTubers, I'm going to do a video about a Tecumseh problem that gives them a bad rap. They're not bad engines. Everybody says, oh, they're junk, their carburetors are finicky. And if people don't get the intricacies of the carburetors, they assume the whole deal's bad and they switch off to Briggs or whatever, which I like them all. I ain't met a motor yet I didn't like. Well, that's a lie. But anyway, the whole crux of what I'm going to show you here is, let me make sure I got this in the general area. All right, right about in there. Okay, that is a hardened ball bearing in that pillar. That pillar goes up and goes to a passage that goes to an unadjustable idle circuit. These designers aren't stupid. They're paid. They're like paid whores. They're for the company. They want to make stuff where the average yokel like me can't fuck with it, mess with it. Pardon my French, but it's close and near and dear to my heart. This is one of the ones that doesn't have a notch in the body. It has two little pinholes to let the gas over into the important area, which is the emulsion tube and the idle circuit. They drill the passage. They drop a little, used to be a plastic pin in them. And that pin, the amount of air, fuel, whatever goes around them determines the size of the passage. So if they drill one great big passage, they meter it by whatever size pin they drop in it. Well, they got to realizing that the plastic lasted forever. And back in the day, I'm going to back up a bit here. On this carburetor here, that little brass thing, it looks like a miniature freeze-out plug or a core plug, what everybody calls freeze-out plugs. It's exactly that. They drill the passage, they drive that little cap in rather than the tap threads and screw a set screw in it and all that crap. These were great. You could take a metal screw and blunt the end of it down just a little bit and finesse it in there and get it caught with a pair of vice grips, you know, pushing hard and turning, wiggle it and pull it out. And aha, beat the system. I can clean it, put it back in, and make this carburetor go another, well, I'm bragging here, but I can make it go forever. It'll outlast me. But they got to realizing people were doing that, so what did they do? To keep you from servicing your own crap, they take this hardened steel ball bearing that you cannot drill and drive it in the passage. It's probably cheaper than the little brass freeze plug, and it's there for life, but you can beat them at their own game if you want. You can take in it this, you got to really be anal and wanting to show them that you can outdo what they did. You got to have time on your hands and be bored and be making a point, in other words. And I'll be the first to admit it pissed me off enough I've done it. Take a jeweler's hacksaw and cut a split right across where I'm showing you with this little pointer and go just barely under halfway down from that ball bearing, which would be right where my pointer's at. That's just below the middle of that ball bearing. Make a little cut at a slant. Break that corner off, and you can get in under that bad boy, wrap a rag around it, pick it off, save it, and when you're done cleaning everything, drive it right back in. Dry. You don't have to put anything on it. But they're not going to tell you that. And here's another thing I need to tell you about Tecumsehs. That most people know this stuff, and I'm not trying to sound like Mr. Know-It-All, but if you don't know it, I wish people had showed me this crap. Half of it I had to find out by blowing needle valve seats out across the yard and thinking, oh God, what do I do now? That little seat up in there, if you blow air in here to clean everything out, you better hold a rag around it because it can go out into the vast outdoors and you'll never find it. And if you're in a pinch, now this isn't to say don't spend your money. If you're in a pinch, you want to fix one right now. You don't want to run to the store. You don't want to have to lock the house up to go get a part. If you need one of them seats desperately, it's pure irony, but Briggs & Stratton primer bulb carbs, like I like so well, in under the primer bulb, see that little green seal? It's even got the ring around it and everything. It is virtually the same thing as a Tecumseh needle valve seat. Though you do have to pick them out. I haven't figured out how to get them out without, I guess you could run down through the throat with a piece of tubing and lay it up against the blowhole and push it out. But it is a seat holding a tiny ball bearing with an even tinier spring, a damn near microscopic spring. Now see, Briggs has got a ball bearing drove in a hole that you can't get out. But if you need a seat, pick them out of a Briggs, push them in a Tecumseh. That motor ain't going to know the difference. It's impervious to gas and ethanol, so I'm good with it. What else was I going to show you? Oh, Briggs & Stratton carburetors with this driven-in ball bearing deal, and even the ones with the little freeze plug looking deal. I'm getting my carbs mixed up. Here we go. One with the little freeze plug looking brass deal. Especially the Tecumsehs, you should be able to, with a carburetor completely gutted of every movable part, you ought to be able to rattle it and hear that noise. That is that little metering pin. Oh, and back to what I got, I branched off, my OCD kicked in there, and I branched off of talking about that pin that's up in under there. Not only does it meter the size of that hole that could work on a 12 horse or it could work on a 2 horse, depending on the size of the pin, they quit using plastic ones and started putting steel ones in. Well, guess what? Ethanol and water attack steel and swell it, rust it and swell it. So here's your sign. The pin's going to swell, it's going to close off the circuit, and the governor's going to have to, the motor's going to want to die on its low speed circuit, and the governor's going to kick it up to fast till it realizes there's no load and then go back to nothing until it starves again. It's going to ram, ram, ram until it finally wears out your throttle shaft. What are you going to do? All right, that's about it. But don't give Tecumseh motors a bad rap. Their vertical shafts have a piston-driven oil pump, that oil plunger pump on an elliptical on the cam that pumps up through the cam over to the top main bearing and back down. That's actually, as much as I love Briggs & Stratton's, Tecumseh's verticals have a better oiling system. You can cut on a hillside with a 4-cycle Tecumseh, but if you do it with a Briggs low on oil with a 4-cycle on the muffler side pointing up where the cam isn't getting a lot of good oil to sling, you wouldn't want to do it from here to Hikes Point or you'd have a junk motor. But don't get me wrong, I love Briggs, but I love them all. There ain't no bad motors if you like rigging, patching, and making do with what you got. I'm afraid people are going to get the wrong idea about me and think, oh God, John don't want to ever do anything the right way or fix it right or spend any money. That's not true. I've gone to a restaurant and thrown down $75 for me and Barbie to eat, and it doesn't bother me at all. But that's a whole different thing. I'm tight in areas that I'm tight at, and I'll spend like it don't bother me to spend on certain things or to donate on good causes. So that's my little rant at defending myself and defending Tecumseh carburetors. But I'm having fun. I'm retired. There's plenty to do to keep me busy. And today we do Tecumsehs. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye-bye.